It's going to take a long time to rebuild the shining city on the hill, the beacon to the rest of the world. You go to outside of our country, and I've been out in the UK and other places, they don't know what the hell.
It's happening, and to be honest, it's fucking frightening. Trump is falling like a bus-sized asteroid, and like that apocalyptic scenario, the whole world is in danger.
All of these numbers that I could find were the highest percentage who said that the country was on the wrong track since Donald Trump took office.
Trump's polling numbers are cratering, and the latest from his chief of staff isn't helping. This is Susie Wiles, and she's cursed with the inability to lie or bullshit, so far anyway, which makes her a Trump unicorn. In a Vanity Fair interview, she let it all hang out. She said Trump has an alcoholic's personality.
Groceries. It's a very simple word.
And that J.D. Vance's conversion from never-Trumper to MAGA acolyte is political bullshit.
Trump is a really bad candidate, and frankly, I think a really bad person.
Susie Wiles is the most powerful person in Trump's White House. But after this, for how long? And now dozing Donnie has announced he will address the nation on Wednesday. That ought to be interesting.
I love you so much, Magic. And it's bad news. Bad things are happening.
There's so much wrong here, it's hard to know where to begin. How did 79 million people vote for this?
For minors. Do we love minors? I love minors.
Just like how 9/11 permanently changed W's plans in his first year, Trump too has been attacked, but not by terrorists, but through the actions of his own making, by the contents and consequences of the Epstein files, or ISIS's brutal mass deportations, or the deployment of the National Guard to U.S. cities, the lethal strikes on boats allegedly being piloted by drug smugglers.
So this is the guy that peddles in garbage.
And then there's Putin, MBS, and the threat of a ground invasion of Venezuela to control their oil reserves. And of course, the tariffs, which threaten to plunge America and the world into recessions and trade wars.
The tariffs pass down to the consumer.
And of course, Trump's physical and mental health.
They had what?
But the truth is, Trump can survive most of these crises, except for the Epstein connection. And not surprisingly, we're learning that Pam Bondi is even more inept than previously advertised. Remember this?
It's sitting on my desk.
Susie Wiles told Vanity Fair that the witness list or the client list, well, there was no client list, and it sure as hell wasn't on her desk.
It's sitting on my desk.
Wiles said Trump is in the file, and we know he's in the file. Trump was on Epstein's plane. He's on the manifest. For the record, teenager Virginia Giuffre, Epstein's most prominent accuser, who died by suicide earlier this year, was a Mar-a-Lago spa worker in 2000 before Trump handed her over to Epstein. Here's what's going to happen next. Trump will deny everything Wiles said. Wiles will say it was all out of context. He'll say he hated Epstein, that the National Guard is necessary, that Venezuelan drug gangs are killing 300 million Americans each year. 300 million.
The fact that 300 million people died last year.
He'll say the tariffs are working and everything's fine, and Fox News will have his back.
The Republican Party is on track to lose the House.
But the numbers are tracking against Donnie, and unlike Trump, numbers don't lie.
You gotta be kidding me!
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tape.
Goddamn right.
I kept my underwear on.
Do you have no shame?
Wie immer habe ich auch hier versucht, auf dem Wege friedlicher Religion.
Мы настойчиво и терпеливо пытались договориться с ведущими сторонами НАТО.
Es ist eine Lüge, wenn in den anderen Welt behauptet wird, dass wir alle unsere Religionen nur versuchen, unter Druck durchzusetzen.
Мы никому и nичего не собираемся навязывать силой.
Alle diese Gebiete verdanken ihre kulturelle Erschließung ausschließlich dem deutschen Volk. Das wurde von uns gedrängt. Sie kennen die endlosen Versuche, die ich machte, zu einer friedlichen Klärung, zu einer Verständigung über das Problem Österreich, später über das Problem Sudetenland, Böhmen und Mähren. Es war alles vergeblich.
Бесконечно долгих 8 лет мы делали все возможное, чтобы ситуация была разрешена мирными политическими средствами. Все напрасно.
Deutschland hat keine Interessen im Westen. Und der Westwall so bleibt für alle Zeiten die Grenze des Reiches nach dem Westen.
В наши планы не входит оккупация украинских территорий.
Neben anderen deutschen Gebieten des Ostens, vor allem aber die dort lebenden deutschen Minderheiten und das Wahlvolk die Weise misshandelt.
Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима.
Danzig war und ist eine deutsche Stadt. Korridor war und ist deutsch.
Украина для нас – это не просто соседняя страна. Это неотъемлемая часть нашей собственной истории, культуры, духовного пространства.
Do you know people who love Jesus and don't seem to love anyone else? That kind of religion that says you can treat people however you want as long as you have a personal relationship with Jesus is an abomination. It is a cancer on the body of Christ. Scripture says you can't love God and hate other people. You can't love God and abuse the immigrant. You can't love God and bully the outcast. You can't love God and oppress the poor. We spend so much time looking for God out there that we miss God in the person sitting right next to us, in that neighbor who bears the divine image. In the face of a neighbor, we glimpse the face of God.
But there were, a lot of factory workers who lost their jobs. And Trump, said, I'm going to bring those factory jobs back. And we knew that wasn't true. Everybody knew that wasn't true. And he's a huckster, and he's a great huckster. He's like the best snake oil salesman ever. It's poisonous for this country because there's no guarantee that democracy survives forever. There's no guarantee. It's just we're just people and laws. So if you destroy the structure and you destroy the laws, you can wind up with an autocracy, and that's where we're headed right now. In 1996, I made a movie called The Ghost of Mississippi, which was all about civil rights leader Medgar Evers and the trial of the man who assassinated him, Byron De La Beckwith. And while I was making that movie, we were scouting the location of the actual site where Medgar Evers was assassinated by this white supremacist Beckwith. And we actually shot it at the actual location on Gine Street. And when I was standing there on the driveway, the very spot where Medgar Evers was assassinated, I started to cry. And I was crying because it hit me that the horror of a man being gunned down in his own driveway in front of his 3 children. I had 2 children at the time. I have 3 now, and it resonated with me that the horror of all of that and being taken away from your children. So we made the movie, and Myrlie Evers, Medgar's widow, was a consultant on the film, and that when we were on the Oprah Winfrey Show promoting the film, Myrlie gave me something that also made me cry, and I have it here because it's the most important artifact that I have in my office, and this is the poll tax receipt that was in Medgar's wallet the night he was assassinated in his driveway. And I've always kept it with me, and like I say, it means more to me than anything, because here you have Medgar Evers, who stood for equality, who fought and died for equality, so that everyone could have the right to vote, the right to exist in a free society. And here we are, so many years later, and we're still carrying on that fight, but we're carrying it on the shoulders of men like Medgar Evers and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And so I just want to say that I'm touched that you asked me to address you, because we all have to honor what Medgar did, what Medgar stood for, especially at this time when those rights are being taken away from us. We have to fight even harder.
Reiner was stabbed to death in his home. I read that and I got really, really upset. I just thought the world of this guy. I interviewed him either 2 or 3 times, and I got to tell you, from my vantage point, he just seemed like the most loving guy. What a pressure to have your father be Carl Reiner. And so Rob going into show business is like very, very difficult. Of course, we all know he landed the job on All in the Family. He was fabulous as Meathead. If that's all he had done, he still would have been a legend. Then he started directing, and the first film is This Is Spinal Tap. He did Stand By Me as a director, The Princess Bride, and then the brilliant When Harry Met Sally, then Misery, and then A Few Good Men. The guy was a genius. But here's the thing. Every time I saw him interviewed, he just seemed to be so down to earth and connected.
But he was mild-mannered, and he was caring. He always
humble,
cared about people.
There was something about him. I just just thought the world of him. And when he was on our show one time, he even talked about his dad, and I asked him if he was intimidated by his dad.
My dad and Mel Brooks, they were preparing to do the Ed Sullivan Show, and you only get like 6 minutes. I was like 16 at the time.
Right.
And I came up with an idea for a joke, and I came down into the room where they were, and I said, I think I might have something. And I was like terrified, because I had this.
You're pitching.
And I'm pitching to my dad and Mel Brooks. And I had this joke, and they actually used it. That was like the greatest thrill.
Well, that is great. Rob was telling me about how he watched his dad work on the Dick Van Dyke Show, and I was fascinated by that.
I used to go down to the Van Dyke Show, watch my dad work with the actors, and I saw how they worked with the cameras and how he fixed the scripts, and I studied all that stuff, and I wanted to be
competitive with him?
I felt that way. He didn't feel that way with me. I felt like I wanted to be. I remember one time walking into his office and sitting down. Now, he wrote 20, 25 scripts every year by himself, and I sat behind his desk, and I was like, 14, 15 years old. I said, how the hell am I going to do this? I can't do this.
How did he do it? Was he alone when he wrote these scripts?
Yeah.
And you would walk in, and I guess he had a typewriter at that point.
Yeah.
And he'd sit there and just bang it out like it was not like Mozart banging out a song, right?
And I remember as a kid, I knew he was having struggles with coming up with ideas because he would wander into my room and he would say, anything interesting happened to you?
Anything going on here?
Maybe you can tell. Yeah, so I always knew he was a little stuck.
To lose him is a real loss. Rob Reiner, what a beautiful man.
I'm not sure how to do this, but Rob Reiner gave me a job in A Few Good Men sometime in the 90s, I guess it was. And I was over the moon to get that job because people may or not know, but this is Spinal Tap is my all-time favorite movie. And when he called me, I was just so thrilled. But the making of that movie was one of the best experiences that I've ever had on a set. He was so fun, and it comes down from the top. You can set a tone where people feel like we are working hard, but also working hard in a safe and pleasant and fun situation. We had lunch together every day. I'd never done that with a director before or since. I'd never gone to have lunch, and Michelle would be there, and the two of them were so great together. Kira would come by. She was pregnant. She'd bring Travis. It was a magical time. So I'm just sending love to everybody that knew him, because I know that everyone's hurting today.
Hey everybody, Congressman Maxwell Frost here. I'm in Washington, D.C. Breaking news alert here. We've gotten enough Republicans to sign on to our discharge petition to extend the Affordable Care Act tax subsidies. What the hell does that mean? It means that now Speaker Mike Johnson must bring a vote to the floor so healthcare doesn't go up for 25 million Americans. Here's the problem. We think he might essentially stall this and wait till January after the holiday break for us to take this vote, but we need to take it now. People's healthcare is going up now. And so what we're saying is simple. Stop everything going on in Congress and put the vote on the floor. Do not let members of Congress go home for the holiday break and make us vote on this extension that the majority of both the House and the Senate are for. We need your help. Call your member of Congress. Tell them to demand that we not get sent on our holiday break until we vote on the health care of 25 million Americans.
ICE is prohibited from using its civil immigration enforcement authority to detain Americans. And I just want to quote the law here, must, quote, carefully and expeditiously investigate claims of citizenship and handle them with, quote, the utmost care and highest priority. That is the law in the United States today. So, Mr. Metis, you are a U.S. Army veteran. You were violently detained at your job site, even though you told agents that you were a citizen. Did any ICE agent try to verify your citizenship status?
No, not a single one. They asked me for my ID. I let them know that I had it. It was in my car. I could prove my citizenship if that's what they needed. And that was it. They never asked me again. They never brought it up. They never cared to even make sure I was a citizen.
I have to say, that does not sound like carefully.
Here's something really wild from a member of the press today. Listen to this. I don't think I've ever heard a journalist do this.
Trump is the president of the United States and a nearly 80-year-old man. But this follows an increasing and repeated pattern of the president of the United States, Chris, showing a disregard for others' well-being, their safety, their humanity. Of course, he didn't attend. He made no comment or condolence at the passing of Vice President Dick Cheney after the assassination of Melissa Hortman. He offered no condolences after a police officer in Georgia was shot and killed after a gunman fired 180 rounds at CDC headquarters over the summer. The president never commented on that officer's death or on the shooting. When he was sitting next to the Saudi Crown Prince last month here at the White House and Jamal Khashoggi came up in his murder, he passed off Jamal Khashoggi as being a controversial man. When it came to Mike Pence back in 2021, this is somebody who did not call his right hand, the vice president of the United States, until several days after the January 6th attack to check in on his well-being. And just last month, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she had threats made against her. And when the president was asked about those threats, he dismissed them and said that nobody cares about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And so this moment here in which the president clearly targeting the Reiners because of their Democratic activism, clearly showing a disregard and a lack of sensitivity for the family and the murder and the tragedy, really just another echo of what has been an increasing type of response in terms of lack of empathy coming out of this White House and the president.
Hear that list of all of Trump's moral failings. Even though it was not an exhaustive list, that was a small number of the ways he has absolutely shattered ethical norms. But a member of the press saying it clearly. Beautiful. The road out of any nightmarish situation begins with truth. And to hear journalists finally speaking the truth to the public, the truth that was very obvious to us, it matters. It matters. It's so simple, but it's been so hard to get people to say it. Americans deserve moral leadership, and the press needs to acknowledge that we don't have it, and that our president is, for lack of a better word, a monster. It feels so good to just hear it said, and mainstream media, we expect more of you to say it. Thank you to that journalist for just telling the truth.
Not sure everybody coast to coast has quite realized that what that cratering approval rating for Trump and his continued every day stepping on new rakes and doing new things that are radically unpopular with the American people. I'm not sure people have quite figured out that translates to primetime local news coverage in Oklahoma. That looks like this.
Protesters with indivisible Tulsa County say they are wishing for things like a united America, affordable food prices, and peace in Ukraine. Indivisible Tulsa County co-leader Susan Young explained why the organization felt the need to speak out Saturday afternoon.
The economy needs to improve. The affordability thing, although the administration doesn't really like us talking about that, it is a big deal. People don't like being told how many dolls they should buy for their children or what they need to give up for Christmas.
At a speaking engagement earlier this week, President Trump talked about affordability, saying, quote, "You don't need $37 for your daughter. 2 or 3 is nice, but you don't need $37.
I just love the straight up local news reporter. And quote, $2 or $3 is nice, but you do not need $37. Now on to, yeah, you really did say that. And, red states don't like that either. And that's the local nightly news in Oklahoma. Things aren't going great, my dude. In the latest AP polling, Trump is minus 36 on the economy. 31% of the country approves of Trump on the economy. 67% disapproves. So Trump on the economy is underwater by 36 points. On healthcare, it's even worse. He's underwater by 40 points. I mean, there's a lot going on right now. And frankly, all of it that points back to the Trump administration and its own actions right now is basically a debacle.
It's time for the Trucker John Livestream. Gonna be a good time. Oh, yeah. The Trucker John Livestream. Come along for a good time. It's a good time, good time, good time, good time. Trucker John Livestream. It's gonna be a good time. Gonna be be the time of your life. Gonna talk some shit, hush your mouth. Gonna talk a little smack. Gonna talk whatever comes of it. You're gonna always wanna come back. Well, yeah, it's the Trucker John Livestream. He's the biggest, baddest, funniest mother you've ever seen. Watch your mouth, he's headed south. Not even sure what that means, but if it's one thing I know, the Trucker John Livestream is the best thing you've ever seen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. Trucker John.
Good morning, everybody. I'm just watching Hal Sparks over there on Cliff Schuster, just like probably most of you guys are doing. He's talking about Rob Reiner right now. Anyhow, good morning over here. I'll try to keep my attention with you guys. It's 11:45 a.m. here in the Pacific time zone. Currently sitting at about 63 degrees. Our daytime high is only 69 today. Not good. Maybe not hit the 70s. We've been hitting. I hear someone's phone ringing. I guess someone's out by the window there with the phone. But anyhow, good morning, good afternoon. Hello. I heard that's Scrapes. I'm pretty sure that's Scrapes over there with his phone. Where was I? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning to you. I see that Roxanne says, "Oh, is that where Hal is?" Yeah, he was at Cliffs, and because is Boston Brian on? Is Boston Brian on 24/7? Is he never? Does that man never shut up? Is he on right now too? Gee, Christmas. Anyhow, thanks for being here. We got 21 watching, 19 thumbs ups. We're at a slight deficit. We're slightly skeezy, slightly Republican-like. Let's remedy that and get those thumbs ups going and get to at least a balanced budget, or even a surplus would be nice. Anyhow, guys, I do see I'm not able to go to the very tippy top of the chat. I do see Michael McAndrews is here. Hey, Michael, good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. I did see. I think was Sandy Foltz in there? I don't know, but I saw Roxanne 79, one of the first ones. Roxanne was asking about what's this live live stream. Well, at least it got your attention, didn't it? It just shows you how stupid AI is. I went to one of these AI things, generator things, and I just said, make me a thumbnail for my YouTube channel, the Trucker John live stream, and that's what it made. And I just went with it because I'm like, all right, I'm just going to use it, see what happens, see what maybe it'll draw some eyeballs. I don't know to the channel. Hey, look at there. We are at a slight surplus now in the thumbs ups. Thanks, guys, for hitting those thumbs up buttons. The thumbs up button. But thanks for being here. Let's see. We got Michael Andrews with a bunch of entries there. Elizabeth Martinez is here. Hey, amigo John. Buenos dias. Hola. Michael McAndrews says I should stay away from caffeinated coffee. Are you a bit over caffeinated this morning? Are you? Jolie's here. Hey, Jolie, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Richard, our expat from down under. Late start. I did get a bit of a late start. I was kind of waiting for Hal because Hal went over. And then when Hal ended his show, I pretty much started it up, didn't I, after that? I don't know. Anyhow. Roxanne, we don't need to put Boz and Brian's times on here. We don't need to advertise his show. I guess it's all right. I don't know. Doesn't matter. You guys are going to go there anyhow, so it doesn't matter. Sandy Foltz is here. Hey, Sandy, good to see you. John Glad, always glad to see John Glad in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Michael Andrews, John can be up to 15 minutes late sometimes, and sometimes more, but very rarely. I'm a little, punctual. I'm very punctual. Richard, our expat from down under, says it's 5:10 a.m. down there in Australia. 5:10 a.m. Richard, Mack truck behind John. That was the AI generated thumbnail. They came up with that, so Chris Doug, hit the like. Yes, absolutely. Mr. Spock is here. 420 alert. Uh-oh. 420 alert. Smoke him if you got him, I guess. Time for that 420. Chris Doug, Miss Spock, I watched The Enemy Within last night. Superior Trek. Oh, that's a Trek show? Trek episode? Star Trek, I guess. Chris Doug, anyone else find Erica Kirk to be as appealing as Lady Macbeth? She's psycho. Total psycho. John Glad is listening to Tom Hartman. That must be the rebroadcast, right? Because his show's over for today, his live. So that's a replay. You must be watching the replay. Petrazi 1920s here. Hey, Petrazi, good to see you. Petrazi 1920 says everyone in the country should watch their favorite Rob Reiner movie tonight instead of tuning into Trump's speech. I think that's an excellent suggestion. That is most excellent. Instead of watching the stupid garbage that's going to come out of Trump's mouth, just go watch a Rob Reiner movie. There's not really a bad one in the bunch. Anyone you choose would be good. I might even be in the mood for Princess Bride, and I don't think I've seen Princess Bride in 20 years. Paul Burrows says, 24 hours before power is restored in St. Maries, Idaho, got my freezer plugged into a generator. Paul Burrows, man, try to stay dry up there. I know you guys are getting flooded out. Man, it must be a real bitch. Good thing you got a generator, so all your deer meat don't go bad. Whatever's in your freezer. Yeah, that's a pain in the ass, right? Chris Doug says tonight's speech should be a laugh riot until reality checks in and we all weep for our once great nation. Yeah, it's like if we're not laughing, we'd be crying. Type of situation. Chris Doug, a delusional, detached, demented disaster. But apparently people are getting the message. Now, I didn't post it. I wanted to go back and put that in the intro, but and then I couldn't find it. You know how you see something in a thread somewhere or on a social media page, and then you try to go back and find it, and you can't find it. But anyhow, apparently there was another big election somewhere. That's why I wish I could pull it up. I think it was in Kentucky or something. I think it was a district that Trump had won by, and I don't know why this didn't get more news. And maybe it's fake. Maybe that's why. Maybe it got taken down because it was fake. But anyway, I don't know. It was somewhere. Someone just won another election, a Democrat, in a heavily ruby red district that Trump carried by like 40 points. We got another one. Now, I don't remember if that was a state seat or if I don't think it was a U.S. House seat. We would have heard more about it. But whatever it was just another indicator here of how much Trump has really is really destroying the Republican Party, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. If anyone knows of the story that I'm trying to relate, DPD says no, TJ, it's real. If you guys, if you have a little more that you can add to that, because I know I've totally kind of butchered it. If you can come in with some more details on that, that would be great. Because I just sort of glanced at it. It wasn't really a video. It was just like a meme or whatever, like a photo with words on it. I guess that's what the kids are calling memes. And then I went back to it. I thought, oh, maybe I should save that photo, and I couldn't find it. But yeah, if you can expound on that, that'd be great, DPD. I know you could do that because you're good at that. And yeah, DPD is here, by the way. I'm just now coming to where DPD said hello to everybody. Hello to you. Roxanne79 is here. Good to see Roxanne. Roxanne says you can't love Jesus and not love others. And that's the James Tellerico part of the intro. And I know some people get kind of turned off by him, because they don't like all the religious stuff. But the thing about that is that Tellerico is telling the things that a lot of Christians don't want to hear. A lot of Christians nowadays don't want to hear. He's telling them the things that they need to hear. Because if you look at that video, some of those people that were sitting around him, they looked a little uncomfortable to me when he's saying, hey, look, you can't be a follower of Christ and turn away immigrants. You can't be a follower of Christ, and hate someone. And the people around him, they looked a little like, uh-oh, think he's talking to me. And that's the whole point. That's the whole great thing about him. He's talking to these Christians and making them think about their actions. So that's why I like him. And he's running, apparently, he's going to be running for the same Senate seat that Jasmine Crockett is. So they're going to be going through a primary against each other. And I like both of them. If I lived in Texas, I would vote for Jasmine Crockett over him. But whoever gets the nomination, I hope the Democrats, just go all out. And of course, and vote for the Democrat, whoever it is, whether it's Crockett or Tellerico. And finally get a fucking Democratic senator from Texas, what we haven't had for a long, long time. A long, long time. Come on, Texas, you can do it. You can do it. You've been flirting with it. We've been flirting with it for a little bit here. We can do it. We thought Beto O'Rourke was maybe going to be, maybe governor, maybe he was going to get a Senate seat. He kind of flamed out. But we can still maybe get one of either Jasmine Crockett or Tellerico in there. I think either one would be certainly better than what they have now. Yeah, Anna Moore's here. Hello, TJ and fellow loungers. Hello. I was just looking to see how's still on Cliff Schecter's show over there. I got the volume down now, so I don't know what they're talking about. But Alton Gillespie's here. Howdy from Texas. All hello, Alton Gillespie from Denton. No, where are you from? I always forget, but you're somewhere in there, somewhere around there. Let's see. Luck Dragon 2112. Why don't you just turn it up to 12 or 13? It goes to 11. This one goes to 11. Some little Spinal Tap references there. DPD5844 says, it makes me so angry and sad that Rob and Michelle are gone, but the Nazi regime continues to breathe and exist. It just doesn't seem right, does it? Why do good people die and we're stuck with fucking horrible people, It just doesn't seem fair, man. It's not fair. Let's see here. Who else is down in here? Luck Dragon 2112 says, we need AI to replicate Rob Reiner debating Charlie Kirk. I know it's too soon, but it might be the spark. The spark for what? The spark to do what? Roxanne79 says, fascinating. I didn't realize Rob's dad was an actor too. Oh yeah, he was an actor, producer, writer, comedian. Carl Reiner. Now, it's actually before my time. I mean, I was born in 1960, but I knew of Carl Reiner growing up. I mean, he was the, I think, creator, writer, producer of the Dick Van Dyke Show, and I remember Dick Van Dyke was a big show. And then all that stuff, but in the 50s, he was already a huge star. Him and Mel Brooks, they were like a comedic duo. He'd already been in movies and was really known for his comedy and writing and stuff. But was he was an A-list star, an A-lister in the 50s and 60s. Yeah, huge Carl Reiner. And then probably, the old or the newer generations, the younger generations, you may have seen him, you recognize him in all the what was it, those heist movies? Why am I blanking? The George Clooney heist movies. Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Charlie's Gang. What the fuck was it called? It was like a remake from Frank Sinatra. They did the thing. Why can I remember everything, but I can't remember the title of the fucking movie? Schindler's Heist? No, not Schindler's Heist. You guys know what I'm talking about. Ocean's 11. There you go. Danny Ocean. Thank you, Penny to Create. His name was Danny Ocean. See, I can remember every fucking thing except the goddamn title. That's early. If that's not early onset dementia, I don't know what the fuck is. Anyhow. Luck Dragon says Carl Reiner's best friend was Norman Lear. Oh, so that's how Rob got the role of Meathead, I guess. Or, that not to take away anything from Rob, but I mean that, doors are opened. When you know people who know people in the business, you can get some doors open. But the thing about that is you better be good, because those doors won't stay open. You got one or two shots, kid. And so and you fuck them up. It doesn't matter who your dad is. It doesn't matter who's your daddy. So anyhow, I digress. John Gladys here says there might be no right to life if we dismember babies by the millions. There is no right to life if we dismember babies by the millions. First of all, no one is dismembering babies by the millions. Okay, zygotes are not babies. Blobs of cells are not babies. A baby is a baby. Okay. All right, you anti-choice person, you. Roxanne79, I've never seen Spinal Tap. I saw the first one. I haven't seen the sequel. House Sparks seems to like the sequel a lot, but I haven't seen it. But I heard it wasn't that good. So it's kind of mixed reviews on that. And actually, this is Spinal Tap. To tell the truth, I think I've only seen it once or twice. The first time I went and saw it, I fell asleep. I've told the story about, this is back when me and my cousin Dan, we were just stoned as hell. Had a few beers in us, and we were stoned, smoked a lot of pot. Went to go see This is Spinal Tap. I passed out. So I don't. So for that showing, I don't remember much after the kind of opening credits or something. And then I think I think I may have only seen the movie in bits and pieces since then. I don't know if I've actually sat down and watched the whole movie. Truth be told. So I know a lot of the little catchphrases. This one goes to 11. But I don't think I'm trying to remember if there was some point at some point, maybe on HBO or somewhere that I may have. I think I did watch it somewhere at some point. So I gotta say, out of all the movies that Rob Reiner made, the Spinal Tap ones are probably my least favorite. I kind of I appreciate this sort of sort of being the start of the sort of fake documentary, the faux, what they call it, mockumentary. I think it might have been the first one. I don't know, one of the first ones to kind of do that, and then that eventually, I think, through the years, evolves to things like The Office and Parks and Rec and shit like that. Those were sort of like, um, so they were supposed to be shot like someone was doing like a documentary or whatever, right? So the format, it created this kind of whole kind of genre, I think. So you give him credit for that. But out of all of his movies, those are probably my least favorite. My favorite Rob Reiner movie is probably A Few Good Men. When Harry Met Sally is very funny. Misery is actually is absolutely it's a Stephen King. It's taken from a Stephen King novel, so of course it's going to be it's gruesome and dark. And that's the thing about Rob Reiner is he did a lot of. He didn't just do one kind of genre. I mean, with Spinal Tap, this is Spinal Tap. That's like a fake documentary, right? Mockumentary. And then he does like A Princess Bride, which is this, it's a comedy and it's fanciful. Hey, is fancy here? This take on this whimsical kind of a thing, and then he did like rom-coms, with When Harry Met Sally and something like that, and then he did like these Stephen King things, like Stand By Me was a Stephen King novel, and Misery. So, and then he did things like, and he was talking about with the Edgar Mever movie. I forget the title of it, but and so he did like serious drama. The guy, he wasn't just locked into just one like genre. He did comedies, he did dramas, everything. So and I guess you could say horror in Misery is kind of horror, or at least it was that would be definitely sort of dark, suspenseful type movie. So he makes some great movies. So yeah, instead of watching Trump tonight, just fucking watch a Rob Reiner movie, and you can't lose on any of them, really. I mean, even Spinal Tap would be better than the fucking anything that comes out of Trump's mouth. Anyhow, we got Soulcraft here. Hello, Soulcraft. Says no way. I don't know what no way means, but there's no way what you're no way in about. Soulcraft HBO. Did I skip down on some stuff? Did I miss? I may have skipped some people. I don't know. I don't know if I skipped down. Yeah, there's Alton Gillespie, Roxanne. We've got the goal going. We've got it says created the goal, daily goal. Roxanne, I've never seen Spinal Tap. So, like I said, I think I have seen the whole thing once, probably on HBO or something. So, like you, Roxanne, but I feel like I've only seen bits and pieces of it, and I haven't seen the sequel. Look, Dragon says you can actually watch a great documentary about Rob Reiner's father, Carl. He is quoted as saying, "The best thing he ever did was rob." And you shouldn't be robbing things. I'm just kidding. He's talking about his son, Rob. The Soulcraft says they keep airing both This is Spinal Tap and The End continues back to back on HBO. Oh, that's what you okay. Yeah, Chris Doug says Carl Reiner's a comedy legend. He was on Your Show of Shows, the golden age of television. Yeah, he was a big star, and I would say that Rob probably like surpassed him in terms of fame or whatever, which is a good thing, I think. And I don't think Carl Reiner would disagree. I don't think Carl Reiner would be upset about that assessment. Now, on the other hand, then you got Nick, Rob's son, who murdered his, his own father. A kid who seems like he could never get out from under the shadow of his father, perhaps. I don't know. Rob had no problem with it, apparently, with his dad's shadow. The shadow being, how big Carl Reiner was. He cast a big shadow. Rob was able to get out from under that shadow and make his own name for himself and establish himself and become a star in his own right. And Nick, I don't know who, I'm not going to play Mr., amateur psychologist here, but so I don't know if that ever, those were some of the issues that led to his drug abuse and drug addiction and his issues and problems. But come on, man. It's no excuse. It's no fucking excuse, man. DPD 5844 says this is the type of life that we should all aspire to have, and that is to touch people so profoundly that they speak of your goodwill, not only in life but in death. So hug your loved ones. Absolutely. Yep. Donnie Pomeroy is here, says $2, Donnie. You're only going to get $2 this year. 37 is nice. Hey, look, we had some pretty big Christmases for my kids over the years. When they were smaller, we would spend a lot of fucking money, right? Hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars on Christmas gifts just for our two little kids. Thousands of dollars, man. Not once did we ever buy my daughter 37 dolls. I don't know what the fuck. He is so out of touch that somehow he thinks $37 that's the normal thing. Maybe that's what billionaires do. Maybe they give their daughter 37 dolls, but the rest of us no. Even during the good years when we were doing good, my, should I just say partner and I don't know, my baby mama and I, because we never got married, but we, guys know what I mean. We both worked for the post office. We were making good money. We had 2 kids. We could spend pretty good on Christmas. We could spend a lot of money on Christmas. We never bought 37 fucking dolls, for Christ's sakes. And not like, I mean, we could have, I guess, if we wanted to, but that just would seem ridiculous. Unless you were a collector and maybe you needed 37 dolls of this Barbie collection or Bratz or whatever to fill out the collection or something. But even that is extreme and ridiculous. Trump is such an out of touch old fuck. And it isn't because he's old. We're all old. I mean, I'm old. A lot of us are old. It's not. I shouldn't even have said old fuck. It has nothing to do with it. He's out of touch because he's a fucking billionaire, supposedly, or he's very wealthy. Even if he's not, I think he is now a billionaire, but I think for a lot of years he was saying he's a billionaire. He really wasn't a billionaire. He was certainly, though, a multimillionaire. And he's just so out of touch. I mean, that's why the word grocery affects him so much. Grocery. Oh, this grocery. Fuck you, you fucking moron. Donald Trump, you're a fucking moron. I would love nothing more than to be able to say that right to his face. You know? Anna Moore says, I just spent $50 for 10 items at the grocery store, and this did not include meat. This guy Trump is high on his own farts. I speak typo, by the way. Yeah, like I said, he's an out of touch billionaire and a sociopath. So he's out of touch with just normal human emotion, things like empathy and sympathy and caring, and he really is sort of the antithesis of a Rob Reiner. He is the antithesis. And it's funny, they're about the same age. Rob was 78. I guess Trump just turned 79 or 79 or whatever. And so they're about the same age. They they grew up at the same time, came from the same era and everything. Rob Reiner is and Trump, they could not be more opposite. They are they're like an exact 180 of each other. You know what I mean? Michael McAndrew says, here's $50 for you, Susie, and $50 for you, Kim. Yeah, you just kind of like yank the legs off. Okay, you get the legs, you get the top part. Oops. Oh, sorry if that made a big noise. I just totally clanked the table here. Doug says, heat wave, it's 46 degrees back there in Jersey. You in Jersey? Yeah, all the whatever snow and stuff, it's going to all melt and you guys are going to get flooded out now. Hal is still on Cliff's show, by the way. If you guys are watching both shows, go into the chat and tell them as soon as Hal is off to come over here. I don't know. Blood Dragon 2112 says, give all Americans free health care and wait to see how long it takes before we all shut the fuck up. Like 2, 6, 7 days. Oh, he's trying to do the 6-7 thing. Okay. Well, so I guess I'm not sure what your point is. Are you saying like if we all got free health care, then we would all just shut up and then and not criticize Trump or something? I'm not sure what your point is. But. Michael Andrews, I had to close my fireplace at the top because I would have to replace the 2 flues and other gas leaks. Fireplaces need care. They do have there is a lot of upkeep, you know, and they can get expensive if the flues aren't working. Yep. Okay, so DPD says, congrats to Kentucky for voting for their own self-preservation. Yeah, go Democrats. So that was kind of what I was talking about earlier about there was an election in Kentucky. Democrat won in a heavily Republican area there. And so it's just another thing that hopefully is a good sign of things to come in 2026. Like Obagadger's one button and my fireplace lights up. It's fake, but it looks real good. Roxanne, oh, I thought you were asking TJ. Well, I shouldn't. No, you're okay. You're okay, Roxanne. I guess we should all learn to share and share. We should learn to promote each other's shows or whatever. As far as Boston Brian, I'm always promoting Hal and Liberal Dan because basically we don't overlap each other. But so I get a little hesitant to promote Boston Brian because now he's overlapping everybody as far as the times are concerned. But it is what it is. He has a good show and he has a good following. I bought his fucking T-shirt for God's sake. So I can't think he's all that bad, So I guess I just gotta realize that it is what it is. No one owns the time. We can all go on. We can do our shows whenever we want. I could do my show the same time as Hal if I wanted to, the same time as Liberal Dan if I wanted to. I choose not to, though. But then there are other shows that I do overlap with that I like. Like a lot of times I like Nicole Sandler, but I'm doing my show sometimes the same time as her. She might be on now. I don't even know, but I'm not sure. There's so I mean it can't be avoided that we're going to have our shows on because there's just so many shows that we're all going to be overlapping somebody. So yeah, I mean that's okay, Roxanne. If you want to put Boston Brian's times on, that's okay because we're all sort of in the same community anyhow. So I would just hope that if anyone who watches Boston Brian when I'm on, then you can catch my show in the replay, at least. At the very least, come and check me out on the replay. I guess I don't know. Mr. Spock says I used to have a fake fireplace and burn fake money in it. Mr. Spock is hilarious. You're hilarious. Michael McAndrew says even when we used the fireplace with a real fire, the heat was not good enough central heat or die. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we've had fireplaces. In fact, when I was talking about the Christmases, the big Christmases we used to have with the kids, me and the baby mama and the kids, we had a house with a really nice fireplace, and it was nice. It would pretty well. We could warm the living room up with it. I guess we can get some pretty good fires in there, and we could make the living room pretty toasty. But I mean, if you thought you could like heat the whole house with it, then no. This was like a 4-bedroom house. So you're not going to heat the whole house with that one fireplace in the living room, but we could get the living room, I think, pretty cozy with it. Certainly, if the couches were any more than like 4 or 5 feet away from the fireplace, if you, any further than that, and then you might be out of the range of the warmth. So yeah, fireplaces aren't the most efficient. They served their time back in the day, back before there were things like central air and heating, HVAC systems, if you will, or even space heaters or whatever that you could move from room to room. And I think nowadays they are more just for atmosphere. I mean, and like I said, if you're within probably even 5 or 6 feet of it, you can benefit from the warmth of that. But anything more than that, then it's not really any good. So it's mainly a nice. You can make a nice cozy living room in the wintertime when you're watching movies or whatever. That's about the extent of it, I think. So as far as being good ways of heating your home, yeah, they're not very good anymore. It's not the best way to go. And then also, you're emitting a lot of smoke into the atmosphere, and I'm guilty of doing that over the years. DPD 5844 says my husband was watching Political Punk, and he presented a very disturbing picture of creepy Baron and the first hoe in a very provocative manner. He was 9 years old, looking every bit of 35 years old. Wow. Yeah, I've been watching a little bit of political punk. Well, I watched a couple nights ago. I guess I was watching actually quite a bit of his show. He seems like a good guy, you know. He can kind of wear on you though a little too, you know, a little that being just high strung. He's very high strung, and just after listening to 2 or 3 hours of it, I had to finally break away because it was kind of wearing on me a little bit. But he's a good guy and has a good story, you know, about his drug addiction and how he's where he is now. He seems to be in a good place now and all that kind of stuff. Luck Dragon 2112 says if you start Harry Met Sally exactly at 10:30 at the moment it is over, you will celebrate New Year's Eve. Oh, that's interesting. The Soulcraft says watch LBJ. He did that one with Woody Harrelson. Oh, he did that too. Oh, was that a Rob Reiner movie? I don't think I ever saw that. I just remember seeing clips with Woody Harrelson playing, I guess, LBJ. Yeah, he was a good movie maker, that's for sure. Rob Reiner was. Soulcraft says it's free on YouTube right now. Sandy Folks, no live stream. No, I didn't do a live stream last night because I didn't go to work. I was going to go to work, and then I just didn't go. I'm going to go. I'm going to get my 45 rides in this week. So I'm going to go. So if I do go live tonight, it'll be after Liberal Dan. So it's going to be a late one. It'll be 8 o'clock Pacific time. I know for you East Coasters, that's late, but it is what it is. Well, Dragon, if you watch The Wizard of Oz and listen to Pink Floyd, then apparently somehow you become wicked. Soulcraft, Dark Side of the Rainbow. Sandy Folds, I thought Hal was not having a show due to his dad passing. You're way behind, Sandy. I mean, yeah, that was all like last week and 2 weeks ago and stuff. He's back to more regular schedule now. Sandy Folds, Rob Reiner's nickname was Meathead. No, he played a character whose nickname was Meathead in All in the Family. Roxanne, I'd like to see both of them in Texas Senate. Well, but there's only one Texas Senate seat that will be coming up in 2026, and they're both running for the same one. Maybe one will win this one, and then maybe the one who loses will run the next one and win that one or something. I don't know. But you know they're staggered. You know so one will be this time and one will be the next time. I believe. I don't know exactly, but I don't think both Senate seats are up at the same time. DPD 5840 says TJ Democrat Gary Clemens. Okay, here we go. Thank you, DPD. This is the information that I couldn't remember all the details. DPD says Democrat Gary Clemens won the Kentucky State Senate. So this is a state for the state legislature. A state Senate District 37 seat. He will be sworn in on January 6, 2026. He ran on affordability, healthcare, and jobs. That's a template that every fucking Democrat should be following. And TJ never advertised someone else's show. Oh. After I just did, I kind of did that. Well, I like to promote Liberal Dan. I think he has a great show. And quite frankly, it's underwatched. And you guys should start supporting that show. And you should start telling everyone you know about the Liberal Dan Show, which is on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 8 o'clock Central Time, right here on YouTube. Okay? It's a show that should be getting thousands and thousands of viewers every night. And so I'm promoting Liberal Dan. I will definitely advertise Liberal Dan Show, if that's an advertisement. Definitely a promotion. Danny Pomeroy says we need to fund all Democrats running for a Senate seat in 2026. It appears Democrats will win the House back. Then Republicans are are done. 8 weeks paid vacation. Vote blue, Patriots. I think we're going to win the House, of course, with big numbers, overwhelming numbers. I think we're going to get the House back, but I do think the Senate is in play, and I think we can get the Senate. I don't know if we can get the 2/3 majority, like the filibuster-proof majority that would be nice to have, but I think we can definitely get the majority. You know. Go speak. You were close, TJ. Not Denton, but Paradise, Texas. Paradise. I'm trying to remember if I've been through Paradise. I probably have. On Paradise Road. Look, Dragon, Reiner's best friend was Norman Lear. Carl Reiner's best friend was Norman Lear. You sure it wasn't Mel Brooks? I think his best friend. Actually, I think his best friend was Mel Brooks. If you want to know the truth. Yeah. So now getting to Ocean's 11 when I couldn't remember Ocean's. John Gleb says because you were old but younger than me. Oh, about because I forgot shit. I forgot. Maybe that was about. Buck Dragon says, where do you think the comment, it's not what you know, it's who you know, came from? I think it came from that. It came from Rob Reiner getting that job on All in the Family because his dad knew Carl Reiner. I mean, Norman Lear. Look, Dragon says, I've seen Rocky Horror like 13 times and only made it into the theater maybe 3 times. I think Rocky Horror Picture Show, the only place I would want to see it is in a movie theater with all the crazy people throwing toast at the screen and shit like that. I've seen that, you know, those midnight performances. I think 2 or 3 times. I think I went 3 times and they were fun. And I wasn't like a diehard. I didn't like dress in costume. I didn't do the cosplay thing. I just went and I just loved seeing all the crazy people do the thing. You know, they knew exactly. It was just fascinating. Like they had it down. They knew all. There were certain parts where they would yell, back at the screen. They would, the whole thing. If you guys have ever done it, and it was just fun. I think I have watched it on TV. I'm sure. I think I've seen it on a showing where it might have been HBO or I don't know. I don't remember. I think I've seen it on TV, and it just isn't the same. It's a whole different experience. I don't know what happened to I was reading the chat and all of a sudden it like skipped. Sandy Foltz, I was born in 1964. 4 years after me. Anna Moore says Stand By Me was a good movie as well. Yeah, Stand By Me was a great movie. Dragon says in one of his most recent interviews, he said the movie that was closest to his heart was Stand By Me. I love that. Danny Pomeroy says Trump will have his lowest viewers ratings after his lying political theater show tonight. Why anybody would waste their evening watching Trump? God damn it, it skipped again. Why is it doing this? I'm trying to read and then the damn thing skips. How can I read your guys' chats if the thing's going to skip? Anyhow, yeah, it was Danny Pomeroy talking about why would they watch that. Like a great suggestion. Go watch a Rob Reiner movie instead. Look, Dragon, everybody loves the fat kid in Stand By Me, and everybody loves the Big Bang Theory, and everybody loves Misery. Sonny Foltz says Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs had admitted he did cheat in the games to make his way to the Super Bowl. He's just a big crybaby. I haven't heard any of that about him admitting to cheating or anything. DPD 5844, I love Stand By Me. I cried when I found out that River Phoenix character Chris died. Spoiler alert! That was a spoiler. Roxanne 79, Stand By Me was one of my faves. I was crushing on River Phoenix. Sandy Folds, he was in Marchie Bunker and Meathead. Yeah, he played Michael, and Archie Bunker called him Meathead. Yep. Blood Dragon. I miss Janet Reno. Oh boy. Oh boy. Roxanne 79 says, my grandma made porcelain dolls, and I have a ton, but they were mostly handmade. Barbie babies, every girl wants those. I had a few. Cabbage Patch too. Mr. Spock, what 37 G.I. Joes in the 70s was common. All at one time? All in one Christmas? I can tell you, I was a kid, and I felt like I had pretty good Christmases, growing up. And I really like G.I. Joes, and I'm talking about, the 12-inch tall ones, not the little action figures. There's a difference between the tall ones, like when I was a kid, and then the action figures. There's two different kind of eras there. And I really like G.I. Joes, and my parents bought me one year when I was like 8 or 9, I think. And then they bought me and then I think I bought, like, after Christmas, I started buying accessories. You could buy more different guns and different little outfits. And I bought this locker. It looks like a kind of like a military locker box type of thing. And you could put the guy in there, and you could put all his gear in there. So I had that for a few years. And then a few years later, they bought me another G.I. Joe. A couple years later. It wasn't too much later, because you kind of grow out of it after a while. Right? I think a couple years later, I got another G.I. Joe, and this one had a beard. So I had two G.I. Joes, and that was it. Even though I really like G.I. Joes, you would think that I would have just gotten G.I. Joes every year for Christmas, for, like, let's say from age 8 to, I don't know, 12 or something. So that would have been, I would have got 5 G.I. Joes or whatever, 4, whatever. But I had two G.I. Joes, and so, and I was I had a very imaginative kid, and I would play with my G.I. Joes, and I would have to imagine, like that these guys were on a mission, a secret mission, to invade, the Nazis or whatever. But they were all invisible. I mean, it was all, because I didn't have any other G.I. Joes or whatever. And I would just have to imagine that they were, going in and doing these secret missions and stuff. I only had 2. And we, like I said, my dad made very good money. It wasn't like we were poor. We weren't rich, but we had, I had very nice Christmases, lots of nice gifts and stuff. And I only had 2 G.I. Joes. But I think my parents probably thought, well, he's already got it. Like, it's like, what should we get John this year for Christmas? He already has a G.I. Joe. They didn't think that maybe it would be nice to have, like, a whole platoon of G.I. Joes, or at least a small company or something. I don't know. DBD says, I don't know if anyone followed the trial of the century of Karen Reed out of Massachusetts, but Alan Jackson has been tagged to defend Nick Reiner. I wonder who's footing the bill. Who's footing the bill? I don't know. That's a good question. Because I wonder how, apparently, Rob and Michelle, they were supporting Nick. They gave him a place to live. He lived, I think, I think he lived in the guest house in their property, and they were paying his bills. They were giving him money. apparently he didn't have any independent source of money. He was just living off of them. Whatever money he may have made, because maybe he had royalties or something for, was it Being Charlie? I think he wrote that. I don't know the particulars of that. Maybe he made some money on that. That movie didn't do too well, so he might not have made too much money. And whatever money he did make, he probably spent it on drugs. So he's broke, basically. Now his parents are dead. And if he's in the will, even though he murdered them, I wonder if he would get money, right? Or if the executor of the estate is going to challenge that. Who knows? But this lawyer, apparently Alan Jackson, not to be confused with the country western singer, unless Alan Jackson is doing double duty. I don't know. But, maybe he's doing it, what do you call it, pro bono? Because this is a big name. It's another big name. Sometimes, they can make their money through publicity. They'll think of it that way. Maybe they're thinking, okay, they'll build the estate of the people that were murdered by your client. I mean, who knows what they're thinking? Lawyers, they think of all kinds of things. Who knows? I just hope that Nick Reiner gets life in prison without the possibility of parole, and that he lives another 60 years in prison, and he can just feel, if he has any feelings, I'm not sure if he's a sociopath or not, but if he has any feelings, or even if he is a sociopath, he'll at least feel shitty about himself. Because sociopaths only care about themselves. And I don't know if he's a sociopath or not. I've just heard other people describe him as that, but no one, unless you're a psychologist and you've treated him, you probably wouldn't know. But he can just be locked up and just feel shitty for the next 60 years. In one way or the other, whether it's just self-pity or whether he actually feels remorse, and he can just feel like crap for 60 years. Or if they want to fucking lethally inject him, go ahead. I don't give him death penalty. I don't even know if this was a death penalty case. It kind of sounds like it could be. If he did slit their throats, because now I'm hearing more and more people saying that he slit their throats. At first, they were just saying it was stabbing. That there was multiple stabbing, and maybe he did maybe they did both. But when you slit someone's throat, that's a kind of a whole different level, I think, of murder. It's more than just a fit of passion, a fit of whatever, and you just start, stabbing people, get stabby. But when you slit their throats, that's a whole different thing. So I don't know if there's no talk of, death penalty yet. We're early. California, this is not Utah, where or whatever, so, but whatever it is, I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out. DPD says, okay, TJ, just put the word out for Hal to pop on over when he's out. Oh, thank you, DPD. I guess they're over. I guess they're done. I don't know. I wasn't more paying attention. Looks like Cliff's show is over with. And I don't know if Hal ever came over or not. I wasn't paying attention. I doubt that Hal would, but if there's any people in the chat there that would come over, that would be great. Roxanne says, sometimes I can play 2 shows at once. Not sure I'm learning anything, but I hear you, TJ. Time overlaps are unfortunate, but we always have the replays. I always promote your show. Thank you, Roxanne. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Nick Rich 56. Is Nick Rich here? Did I not see Nick Rich? Someone said something about Nick Rich, but oh, there's Nick Rich, like number 26, 1222. Hey, Nick, thanks for being here. Appreciate you for coming on in. Coming on in. Danny Pomeroy says, later, John, I guess we got one to come in and we get one to leave. So DPD says the last living cast member of All in the Family is Sally Struthers. And I'm really glad that you did that, Jolie. That you deleted those. Because that is just bizarre. You were kidding? What were you kidding about, DPD? What was DPD kidding about? Oh, about Hal coming over or something? I don't know. Yeah. That one there, you know what I'm going to do? I think instead of hiding, I'm going to just block that person. And that one too. There's a couple in here we're just going to block. A couple trolls came in with some just, it's one thing to be a troll and kind of say like, you know, whatever, but to just be really awful. With these two that were just really, really awful. It's kind of weird. It doesn't really let you. It just lets you time them out. I want to block the motherfucker. All I can do is report or remove. Julie hid them. I want to just fucking block them. I guess you can't block people anymore? Or is hiding what their euphemism is for blocking? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I reported. There's one in here I just reported. I'm going to report them. Because I'm not going to stand for that. I won't mention their names. I don't know if you guys saw them because I'm always 20, 30 minutes behind in the chat. But those two, that's not just normal trolling. That's really hateful, horrible things that they were saying. So I reported them. Yeah, Nick Rich, the disgusting hate bots have nothing to say worth seeing. Yeah, but between Jolie and I think we took care of that, hopefully. Look, Dragon says, I used to go to Rocky Horror Show dressed as a totally normal person, and we would always see fights at the end of the show at midnight. It's no joke. You know what? I never saw that happen. And I used to go to the one in near Santa Monica at the if Fancy was here, she would know what theater I'm talking about. I think the theater started with an L. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was was it on Santa Monica Boulevard? Pretty close to pretty close to the freeway, I think. I think pretty close to was it the 405? Lorelou Theater. Anyhow, and they used to do midnight showings like for years and years and years. They might still do it. I don't even know. I don't think they do anymore. But they would have midnight showings. I think it was like every Saturday night, maybe. And I went there twice. I only went twice, but it was fun. It was a great time. And then I went to one like years earlier when I was, because that was when I was probably what was it, late 20s, early 30s when I did that. And then I went to much earlier when I was probably just out of high school, I think. And they used to do a midnight showing, I think, at the Tyler Mall. I think was it called Tyler Mall? Like in Riverside, California? I'm just saying, I just bring this up in case there's anyone who lives in these areas and you might know what I'm talking about in California. Because if you live in New York, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. When I say Tyler Mall or even Santa Monica Boulevard, you might not know. So, but if you live in those areas, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I think that was I went there, and I don't remember any fights ever breaking out. But I only went 3 times. I guess if you went 100 times, you might. But you said every time, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess I went to the crowds where I went where people were just enjoying themselves. Chris Doug, I have all my GI Joes. They are over 50 years old. I think I still have mine in storage somewhere, or at least one of them. One of them lost his hand, so he's a I guess you would say a disabled vet, but he did get a Purple Heart, an invisible one because I never did get an actual one. But one of my GI Joes lost his hand. It was a terrible. I think a hand grenade or something went off, blew his hand off. And I think I still have those GI Joes. I think, I'm not sure. And those are like probably over 50 years old. Yeah, certainly are. I think. So if I ever get my shit out of storage, I would like to come across that. That would be interesting. Very, very little of my stuff has survived. A lot of it has gotten lost and stolen, and it seems like every time you move, you lose something. I don't know how it happens, but you always lose something. And then I've just had things get ripped off and stolen, and that's horrible too. Ripped off and stolen is the same thing, by the way. Mr. Spock, I got the GI Joe with the Kung Fu grip. I don't think I ever had the Kung Fu grip. I had the beard. The guy that was the new thing. Like the first one I had, it's just like painted on hair, clean face, and then a few years later they came out with the beard. The guy had a beard, and I was always wondering, like, I didn't think beards were really allowed, but I always thought like he must be out. He's out in the field like so long, and they didn't they didn't have shaving kits. And so like the COs are just like, fuck it. We're fucking out here, man. The least of our worries is if he's shaved or not. That was my little imagination. That's how I made it work. MJ Dano, we got the full-size GI Joes back when I was in grade school. I also had the cowboy action figure, not a doll, called Johnny West. Oh, wow. I don't remember that one. I didn't remember. Nick Rich says G.I. Joe came out on the market in early 1964. I got one in 65. Fell in a campfire. Oh, my God. A horrible, horrible death. Oh. Or maybe he didn't die. Maybe he survived and he's had horrible burns. And definitely Purple Heart for that guy, huh? MJ Daniel says Johnny West figure was accessories up the wazoo and a girlfriend, Indian sidekick, the bad guy, and they all had horses, and they are collector's items. And I wish I was more careful with my toys. I had so many toys that I had saved for many, many years, and then my house got robbed. I had a Hot Wheels collection where they were all out of the package, and I played with them, but a lot of them were still. You wouldn't say they were in mint condition, but I had a lot that would be considered very good condition, and some motherfucker stole them. That was the one time in my life, because then one of my neighbors kind of ratted out someone who they suspected was the person who did it. If I had a gun, I would probably be in prison right now, because I went over there to that person's house, but they had a chain link fence around it and it was all locked up, and they had dogs in the yard. So I stood out there yelling at the house, but I think they were gone. I think there was no one there. I don't know what happened, but I was just thinking, and I remember calling my brother saying, "Get your guns and get over here." But my brother like called me down or something. I don't know, because he lived way in Apple Valley. It would have been like a 2-hour drive or whatever to get over there, because he had guns. And I was like, "Man, bring the guns. These motherfuckers, rip me off." But they weren't. No one was home, and then I eventually cooled off, and then I never saw those people. I don't know if they just moved out. Actually, I don't think there was dogs when I was there. I think they had dogs, but it looked like maybe they just moved. So I don't know if they stole my shit, and I still don't know if they stole my shit. That's the thing about vigilante justice, is you don't really know sometimes, right? So it's a good thing I didn't have any guns, because if they were home and I had the guns, I probably would have killed the motherfuckers. I was so pissed off. That's how pissed off I was. They stole my I had complete sets of mint condition, never opened baseball cards. And plus I had all my baseball cards from when I was a kid in the 60s and 70s that I had kept. And many of those were in very good condition. I'm sure I had who knows how many tens of thousands of dollars worth of baseball cards that they stole. But so I was really pissed. Deepity was joking about not advertising on the show. Okay. Chris Duck says Jasmine Crockett defeating Ted Cruz would make me laugh my ass off. Is it Ted Cruz's seat that's up, or is it Cronin's seat that's up? I thought it was the other one's seat. Sandy Folks Report. Doesn't matter, Sandy. There was a couple of trolls in here that you hopefully didn't see. I think Jolie got them right away. And then I reported them, but you don't need to worry about it. They were just in here saying some really awful shit. I mean, really bad shit. Not just something that was in disagreement or whatever. It was just really horrible shit. But you don't need to know. You don't need to worry about it. Yeah, it says Blood Dragon Jazz is not going against Ted Cruz. Yeah, I think it's the other one. I think it's Cronin or whatever the fuck his name is. Chris Sugg says there were trolls in Howes and Cliff's chat. Shows how desperate they are. Well, there's always trolls. I mean, Blood Dragon, hey, Trucker John, have you ever heard of Morton's? You talking about the steakhouse? I've heard of Morton's, the steakhouse. I've never eaten there, but I've heard of it. Chris Doug says Santa Monica Theater on 3rd Street Promenade had Rocky Horror. I don't. That's not the one I went to. I've been to the 3rd Street Promenade back in the day, but that's not the one that I'm so got Morton Salt. Of course, I've heard of Morton Salt. Is there any other company that makes salt? Of course there is. I'm only joking, but yeah, I've heard of Morton Salt. Brooklyn HJU, I just came to say hello, and now I'm going to read a real book made of paper. Made of paper! It's made of paper. Thank you, Brooklyn SJU. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in and saying hello. Saying hello. Hello, everyone. Mr. Spock, TJ dressed up as Dr. Frankenfurter. Yeah. Let's do the time warp again. It's just a step to the left, or however it goes. I don't know. Sniper Joe. Well, just a jump to the left. Okay. Chris Doug, my GI Joes tried to jump Barbie, but Action Jackson fought them off. Ken was busy surfing. I remember one of my little cousins. Well, we were all little, but brought over her Barbie dolls, and I remember we were playing GI Joe and with her Barbie doll, and her Barbie doll was like dressed up like a nurse. So we were pretending like she was a nurse, like in a MASH unit, and one of the GI Joes was her boyfriend, and the other GI Joe was kind of jealous. That's kids have great imaginations, don't they? Chris Doug, John Cornyn, or Ted Cruz, F them both. Yeah, and I think it's Cornyn's seat that's up. Jolie says, I had working Atari game system with loads of games. I lent it to my nephew. He sold it. What a bastard your nephew is. I'm sorry, Jolie. I shouldn't say that, but you don't sell someone's game who you know, you just lent it to them. You didn't give it to them, right? I mean, that's shitty. That's so shitty. Chris Doug, was it the new art? I think it might have been the new art. I think you're right, Chris Doug, by the 405. I'm pretty sure it was the new art. They used to do Rocky Horror Picture Show, I think, every Friday or Saturday night at midnight. It was a midnight showing, and they did it for years and years and years. And, you know, I lived out in the desert, so it was like a big trip for me to come down. Me and my wife at the time went down and saw that. Yeah, I think it was the new art, Chris. Chris Doug, aren't you in New Jersey? How do you know all this shit? Nick Rich, 1 p.m. I am 1 minute behind you, so I have caught up, pretty much. I'm 1 minute behind you, Nick Rich. I'm 1 minute behind. I'm 1 minute behind you, Nick Rich. I'm 1 minute behind. Chris Doug says search. It says it started showing there in 1976. I think you're right, and I don't know. I don't think they do it anymore, but they did it for decades. Because when I went, it was probably 1989, probably 88, 89, 90. I mean, we only went twice, 2 different times, I think we went. But it was around there. DBD says, I still have Mrs. Beasley doll, but I wouldn't play with it because she was white. So my parents painted her face and her hands brown and dyed her hair. Don't worry, I grew out of it. Hey, I think there's nothing wrong with that. Look, Dragon, I love cows too? I don't know. Do you? Druckly Yours is here. Hey, Druckly Yours, good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. I had a bunch of Marvel cards and old games, and my brother looted them all from my storage. I had a bunch of stuff that my little brother, talking about bastards. No, my little brother, Jason, who's 16 years younger than me. So I was out of the house and gone, but I had a bunch of stuff in boxes, you know, that my parents kept for me. And let's see, what did I have? My brother was taking them and selling them. I don't know if it was comic books, because I did have a bunch of old comic books. I don't know. He found some of my stuff. I think he sold some of my comic books, and I don't know if he sold Hot Wheels. I don't know, but he was selling them. This is when my brother was really young. He was just a little, a little shit. I think he was like 10 or 11 or 12. And then he would take that money and he was buying something else, and it was like some other, I think, video game or something. I think he was buying video games with the shit that he found of mine, that he would take it to like a card shop or a comic book store, and he was selling my shit, little fucker. And I didn't find out about that until 20 years later or whatever. So what are you gonna do 20 years later, other than just call him a little shit, I had a stack of 45s, a little 45 records, not a gun, but a stack of 45s. And I think he was selling those too, or did something. I don't know, because I would really like to find those records, but I think they're all gone, because those were from the 60s and 70s. Chris Stuck says, over the years, when I go to visit my aunt and uncle in Redondo Beach, we went to Santa Monica quite often. Alrighty. I am me. First time here. What is this channel about? Well, let me tell you, I am me. What this channel is all about. It's about me reading your chats back to you. Isn't that an interesting concept? I'm just glad you're here. Thanks, I am me. As long as you're not a troll who says really nasty things, you're welcome here. And so I hope you come in and hang out. It's a hangout. We're a hangout. We just hang out. It's chill. We're kind of chill, pretty chill, unless sometimes I get worked up about certain political things. I might get a little worked up, things of this nature. But yeah, hang out and check it out for a while. See if you like it. And while you're here, if you might give me a thumbs up, that would be great. And if you think about subscribing, that would be even greater. We're at 4,230 subscribers. I would really like to get to 4,500 pretty soon. So think about that, if you would. But hang out. Just hang out and check it out. Chris Doug says, TJ, I got to go to Cali many, many times since I was a teen. Oh, that's cool. So you're like a bi-coastal kind of person, kind of like, sort of. Luck Dragon says, if I were smart, my guitar collection and vinyl collection would probably be worth 3 figures. But I'm not smart, so I don't want to talk about it. I know it is kind of depressing, isn't it? Between my record collection, my baseball card collection, my Hot Wheel collection, probably those 3 things, and almost all of that got stolen. Almost all of it was stolen, and not by my brother. I mean, my brother took a few things, but 90% of that, 95% of it, I ended up having in my possession, and then got stolen under my possession. Not by my brother, but like some rando asshole in fucking Rosamond, California, in the desert. Some fucking tweaker probably, or tweakers. I think it was a group. I think it was a 3-man operation. Anyhow, that robbed my house. But between those things, I bet you I had at least 5 figures. The baseball collection alone, I was thinking I could have maybe sold and put my kids through college with. So I don't know. So a cheap college, not a big fancy college or whatever, or maybe a few semesters. I don't know, but there was a lot of value there, and it got all fucking ripped off. And I was remiss in not, like, I should have insured all that shit, and I didn't have it insured. And I didn't have it covered, I don't think. There's a lot of things I could have done maybe better with securing that property when I was out on the road. This happened when I was out on the road driving. Someone robbed my house. But still, it's depressing. it's depressing, but then I realize that there's so much worse in the world. You think of Gaza, the people being exterminated in Gaza, or you think of the people in Ukraine being bombed by Putin, the dictator, for no reason. Their children being stolen. There's all kinds of things in the world that we can think of that could kind of snap you out of it. Like, hey, these are just fucking material possessions. So I snap out of that self-pity pretty quick, I guess. Santa Dog is here. Hey, Santa Dog, good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. I do appreciate you for coming on in to the driver's lounge. Let's see here. I was just seeing what else was on. Let's see. Look, Dragon, I never missed original vinyl album of Kiss alive until Donald Trump honored them at the Kennedy Center. I don't know. Did you not? Ever? I Am Me says, nice, I'll stick around. Oh, cool. I hope you do stick around. It's good to see new faces, new people coming in, new people coming in. Yeah, get to know the people. There's a lot of good people in this chat that I'm sure we will welcome you with open arms. I Am Me. So get to know the folks. It's a pretty good community here. Except for Lug Dragon. No, I'm just kidding. Lug Dragon says, the vinyl album I miss the most is ABBA Greatest Hits from my mother. Do you mean ABBA? You talking about ABBA's Greatest Hits? Probably ABBA. I'm going to bet it's ABBA. Josh C's is here. Always good to see Josh C's in the chat. And Josh C is welcoming I Am Me to the lounge. There you go. Chris Doug says, sadly, most LPs are worthless. I have hundreds and collectors reject them. I have original sheet music from the 1890s and to the 1960s, and they are worthless. Well, I'm glad I didn't have any old sheet music. And the albums I had, yeah, who knows? Yeah, they might be worth $1. I don't know. But I think the baseball card collection, that was definitely worth many thousands of dollars, I'm sure. DVD, do you have a Ring camera? Well, this whole thing, that happened was 15 years ago in the desert, in a house out in the desert, where the neighbors we all lived on. We all had 2.5 acre parcels, and actually to the west of me and to the south of me was just desert for miles and miles and miles. There was a property to the north of me, and to the kind of the north and the northeast, and to the east of me were the other properties. So it was a remote thing, and that's a whole. So I mean, having a Ring camera now, that's an immaterial point, and we've talked about that before, anyhow. So about Ring cameras and shit. The fact that I was out on the road for 6 or 7 weeks at a time, living in a remote location, even though I padlocked the gates and I locked up my doors, I had lights on timers to make it, hopefully make it look like someone was there. Things of this nature. And the Ring camera did exist back then. I remember looking at Ring cameras, thinking about getting a Ring camera back then. This is like in 2010 or something. But I never did. Maybe I probably should have, but I didn't. That was something I was thinking about doing, and then by the time I thought about doing it, then something happened. So anyhow. Hey, look at there. We have another troll, looks like. DPD, and yes, you can still have one in an apartment. I'm not worried about this place so much. It's like I said, this was 15 years ago, out in a remote location. Completely different situation. Terrence M. Bunce, Hot Wheels. Wow, I had 2-wheel carriage sets spoiled and a few Sizzlers. Oh, I had Sizzlers. I had the where you could charge them up, and I had the Fat Track. I had the little thing where it would go through the little building, and it would it had the wheels spinning, and it would like boost them. I had all that shit. Santa Dog says I have Ring doorbell, 2 outside, 1 inside. They work flawlessly. Yeah, this is a whole different situation, guys, that I'm in now. MJ Daniels here from up in Washington State. I hope you guys are drying out. Hope the water's receding up there. MJ Daniels says, waiting to hear from the insurance company of the guy that rear-ended me last week. They had damn well better give us a good offer. Here's hoping. I'm hoping they give you a good offer too. I hope you can get a whole new car out of the deal or something. Look, Dragon, I used to own a YAT album that was autographed by all 4 original members, and it was stolen. MJ Daniel, I had a couple boxes of great vinyl, all gone over the years. But you know what? Like, you can go to record stores and probably replace a lot of that stuff, and a lot of them, like was it Chris Doug was saying, I don't think they're really that expensive. I know it sucks. Like you have to like rebuy shit that you already had, and and you're not going to replace like if you had an autographed one like Luck Dragon did. But yeah, it just sucks though when people rip you off like that. You just feel so violated, You really do. When to think of someone breaking into your house and stealing your shit, that's such violation. MJ Daniel sounds like bat country to me. I'm not sure. You're talking about where I lived? We did have bats, lots of bats where I lived out there in Rosamond. I think I had a bat in my house one time. Was that? I'm sure I've had a bat in my house. I forget which one though. And it's scary as fuck because you're like, I don't want to get rabies or whatever, and you're trying to get the thing out. I remember there's some incident we had with a bat in one of my houses where I lived. I forget now where, but we had one in there, and they finally got it out, or somehow. But you're like, oh no, don't let it. It's going to give you rabies or whatever. Daniel, if I had all the toys I destroyed when I was little in good condition, they would be worth some good money. Now, Dragon, if you can find a 45 of Fats Waller, write myself a letter and you might just be a millionaire. Fats Waller, huh? I always wanted to do, when I was driving a truck, I thought I would like to retire and buy a motorhome and then just travel all the country, all the places that I had driven to. Because I would see like yard sales and going on, or estate signs for estate sale and yard sales and garage sales. And I was just thinking, and it's kind of like that show. Remember they have that Pickers or whatever show? And I just thought, man, I'd like to retrace all the places I've gone for the last nearly 20 years as a truck driver and go through all these places, because some of them are like out in the middle of nowhere, or they're places you wouldn't even think about going. But if I could just retrace kind of all the places I had gone to, that's why I've kept all of I have all these little books of every place I've gone to for almost Not maybe not every place, but a number of years. And then see if there's a sale going on, a garage sale, yard sale, and you just never know what you might find. You might find a 45 of Fats Waller, but someone just thinks it's an old 45, and you buy it for $1 or whatever. I would love to do that, but I'm not able to do that right now. Maybe someday, I can still do that. And I would do that. I would live stream it, or I would make videos of it. That would still be part of the Trucker John show. Instead of me sitting here talking and reading your chats, it would become the Trucker John garage sale picker show, or whatever you call it. Chris Doug says, off topic, but Trader Joe's has hot honey popcorn. Magically, the bag disappears in one day. I kind of like those big tins of popcorn with the different flavors. I've always liked those. I might pick me up one next time I go, because you always see them at the stores this time of year. Nick Rich, did you ever get 37 pencils? I never did. Now, I may have gotten, I don't know if for Christmas. I remember like back to school, you get a new notebook, and you get some pencils and some pens and some mechanical pencils, and maybe that type of thing. And you put it in your little. It comes with a little zippy holder thingy, but I don't think I ever got 37. But maybe, I don't know, maybe got a box of pencils, but that would be back to school. That wasn't really for Christmas. Menjib Daniel, the store I got all my albums back in Walla Walla, called Hot Poop, is still open and run by the same guy. They still sell vinyl. See, I don't even have a turntable. I think in my storage, I always talk about my storage. I'm pretty sure I have a turntable. I don't think I have any of my original turntables, or going way back to, when I used to have a turntable when I was in high school, or even before, like, in the 60s and 70s. We always had a turntable in the 80s and stuff. I don't think any of those have survived, because some of them were pretty nice. If I still had it, they would probably be perfectly fine to have. But I think I did buy. You've seen those ones over the years where it's like an all-in-one thing. It's like a little wooden box, and it has like a CD player. I don't know if it has a cassette player. It has a radio, AM, FM radio, and I think it has a CD player. And then you open the top, and it has a turntable in it. I think I have one of those that I probably 20 years ago bought it. I think I have one of those in storage. I would like to at least have that, because I think I do have some records. In storage, I think I do have a couple of Van Halen records still that survived. I think I got some. I think I might have a couple Beatle records that survived. I don't know. I think I have some old Beatle records from the 60s. I may have given those to my son. I may have gifted some of those to my son, because I remember he was into listening to vinyl. I think I might have gave him some of my old vinyl that I had. I can't remember now exactly, but so I don't know what I have left. I got to go through that storage and get that stuff out here. Michael McAndrews, I have 2 bat houses. I had a bat for a while. I don't know if he's still around. Santa Dog says, I put up a bat house next to the woods 10 years, and it never attracted a single bat. They ate tons of mosquitoes. Oh, well, I've never had a bat house like that. I've had a bat in my house. Michael McAndrews found a bat living behind our shutters one time. Chris Doug, I've had toys in the attic and bats in the belfry for quite some time. Josh says, I had a bat once. I hit it with a tennis racket and fed it to my snake. Oh my gosh, Josh sees. That's gruesome. That's a bit gruesome. Anna Moore says, I had to leave the chat because my bank sent a scam alert. Apparently, a virtual card was created using my debit card information. Scary. That is scary. You don't want someone with identity theft and doing all kinds of bad things with that. Yeah, so you don't want that. Michael McAndrews found a bat living in a recessed light fixture outside one time. Santa Dog, I put the box up facing the southeast and smeared bat poop on the box like the instructions said. Where did you get the bat poop? I guess if there's plenty of bats around, you will find the, what do they call it? Bat guava, bat guado, bat something. Michael James, I saved an old turntable. I don't think I have an old. The one I have is probably 20 years old. But the point, yeah, I don't think I have any of mine like from the 70s. I had some pretty nice stereo systems, or at least one. I remember that my dad bought me for Christmas one year, and I had that all through my pretty much junior high and high school years, and into my early 20s. I think it was a nice, really nice turntable, and I had the like dual cassette deck. This was before CDs, so there was no CD player. It had really nice sound, really nice speakers, and that was the unit that I made my compilation tapes from, Jolie, because I could play records and then record that to the cassette recorder, and that is where I made my my compilation tapes. And the thing is I could record also because it had two cassette decks. So I could also record cassette to cassette. So if I wanted to grab a song, say if I didn't have the album, the vinyl version of it, but I just had a cassette of, say, the first Cars album. I think I did have that vinyl. I'm just using it as an example because I think I also had the cassette. I really liked the Cars. I think I had the record. I had the cassette, so I could just play that in my car. And then if I made a compilation, well, I think I probably just used the vinyl, but I could have used the cassette if I wanted to. It was just easier to drop the needle and record off the album. And plus, you get the album sound. But once you're recording from album to cassette or cassette to cassette, it didn't really make any difference, I don't think, as far as like the sound, Chris Doug, the myth was bats could get stuck in your hair. Ew. DPD says, interesting fact, bats in your home carries symbolic meanings. For instance, in China, they are considered to be good fortune. In Europe, they are linked to evil or witchcraft. Mr. Spock says, Stephen Miller is an alien vampire. He's a really creepy dude. I'll give you that much. He's one creepy ass motherfucker. That is for sure. Guano, there you go, Chris Doug. I think I was close. I think I was pretty close. Yeah, David Windler says guano. Bat guano. Is that just the Spanish word for poop or something, maybe? I don't know. Where's Elizabeth Martinez? She would know. Look, Dragon 2112 says you need to create a show where you're driving around in a taxi and call it Truckers Hates question marks? I don't hate question marks. I just don't like it when they're inappropriately used. Mr. Spock says, don't breathe in bat guano. It's deadly. Wow. I'll try to remember that next time I come in contact or come near any bat guano. Jolie always laughs when I talk about my compilation tapes. Chris McDaniels, don't eat bat shit. Nick Rich says, just imagine eating your own weight in insects. Imagine the results. Bat shit. TPD says on MSN Now they're giving an update on the Brown shooter and on the ongoing manhunt. I just saw the video they released of a guy walking around with a beanie, and I guess it looked like, at first I thought it was like a ski mask, but then I saw a side shot and it looked like it was just a black mask, I guess. But I've seen that. Have you guys seen that video? This guy walking around. Looks like a white guy because you can see white skin here, and you can see his hands. So it looks like a white guy, kind of stocky build. You know, I don't know if that's the guy or not. Ninja Daniel says, I still have a box of cassettes, pretty old, not sure if they would even work. Yeah, I guess after a while the tapes just kind of, degrade. Look, Dragon says, I actually own a cassette of Eddie Murphy, Party All the Time. Oh, remember that one? Party All the Time. Wasn't that like him and, what's his face, did that? James, what's his face? Rick James. Santa Dog Caca. Look, Dragon, I win. I don't know what you won, but congratulations. Michael McAndrews has finished using the router table. Now I have to cut a board and hope I don't cut my hand off. Yes, please, don't do that. Don't be like Julia Childs. Don't be like the Dan Aykroyd Julia Childs skit, which I guess didn't really cut the hand off, but I'm just imagining the blood squirting all over. Chris Doug says, bats hide in the outhouse, so check that pot with a stick before you grab the corn cob. Okay. Okie doke. Mr. Spock, it's the ghost of Epstein. Eddie Murphy. Yeah, Eddie Murphy, but Eddie Murphy, I think, did that with Rick James, or Rick James had something to do with that. Stephanie, hello everyone. Just finished wrapping Christmas presents and now got to make toffee. Well, that sounds delightful. Like a delightful afternoon. Jolie, I'm Rick James, bitch. Yeah, I remember that. Was that Chappelle or was that Charlie Murphy or the whole thing? That yeah. I think Rich TJ is caught up. I have caught up, and so you know what that means. Show's over, and we are over 2 hours, and I should get going, and I should really, really, really make myself go to work today. I have to go to work today because I'm not going to work tomorrow, because tomorrow is Thursday Night Football, and Thursday Night Football is the Rams going against MJ Daniels' beloved Seahawks. So I got to go to work today. I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to do it. It would be prudent. It would be prudent if I did it. So yeah, we should end the show so I can get ready and go to work. Try to get my 15 rides in. I need to get 45 for the week. So far I'm at 0. Mr. Spock, we need to chat faster next time. But thanks to that, I don't know if our new person is still here or not. What was it? Eye on Me or something like that? But thanks for coming in, and I hope you're here, and I hope you'll come back. To the new person. I'm scrolling back. Oh, I am me. I am me. If I am me is still here, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming in, and thanks for everyone for coming in and hanging out. Tomorrow's Thursday, so I'll do a 9 a.m. Pacific time show. Just remember, you East Coasters, you got to add 3. So that'll be noon. That'll be a nooner for you guys. And all the time zones in between, just figure it out. You're either an hour or 2 hours off. Like ahead, I guess it would be. And if I go, like I say, I'm going to go to work tonight. And if I do a live from the cab, I'll wait till 8 o'clock, because that's usually about when 8 Pacific time. is when, Liberal Dan usually wraps things up around 8. He goes usually from 6 to 8 my time, Pacific time. So I would just wait till around 8 if I go live. So if you guys are still up and you got nothing better to do, you can hang out with me in the cab tonight for a little bit. And then again, tomorrow we'll do this regular show here tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And since I'm not going to work, I could do a House Sparks pre-show tomorrow. I used to do those a lot because on Thursdays House Sparks doesn't come on, and he comes on an hour later than usual because he does his family phone time. Maybe if I'm feeling up to it, I'll do a House Sparks pre-show, but I'll let you know tomorrow. Just for shits and giggles. And then I'll be gearing up, getting ready for the game. Probably buy some more beer, get some hot dogs, get ready for the Rams game. Get my gear on, my Rams gear on. The whole 9 yards. Danny Berry Sports Highlights is here. Hey, Danny Berry Sports Highlights. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. Anna Moore says, I hope you have fun, passengers, like the cowgirls you had the other night, TJ. Oh, the cowgirls. Yeah, they were funny. They were kind of funny. They had a few, a few pops. They'd had a few adult beverages in them. It looked like, sound like, and but they were having a good time. A good time, good time, good time. I should sing that to my passengers when they hop in. I should be like, "Welcome to the cab. Welcome to Trucker John's cab ride. You're gonna have a good time, good time, good time." I might get more tips that way, huh? I should do that. Welcome to the cab. They're gonna have a good time, good time, good time. Riding in my cab. Chris Luck says Powerball 1.25. How many you guys won it? You guys were telling me you were gonna. Jolie and Chris. You guys haven't won it yet? For crying out loud. I want my share. I believe there was talk of sharing. Nick Rick, work on the lyrics, yeah. James Jaramillo, damn, I'm a ghost in here? Well, this is the first time seeing you, James. So if you've been there the whole time and no one saw you, we see you now, though. Thanks, James, for being here. I appreciate you coming in at the last minute here, because we are about to lock it up. We're about to shut her down. But just want to say thank you guys for being here. Please consider subscribing if you haven't, and if you have, make sure you like, subscribe, and share and hype the show. We are at 4,230 subscribers. Really would like to get to 4,500 really quick. Bless my little soul. Bless my little heart. And all that stuff. And then you might see special guests coming in. Like me. I am the specialist of the specialist guests. In fact, I am the most special of the guests. So you might come on in and see old tough Cookie coming in. And if you're an asshole, I'll tell you you're an asshole. But if you're not an asshole, then I'll just say, hey, you're not an asshole. You get it? You get my drift? In other words, don't be an asshole if you don't want to be called an asshole. I don't even know why I went off on that tangent, but thank you. I am a special. Thank you, Trucker John. Trucker John just called me a special guest, I think. So thank you, Trucker John. Thank you. I'm special too. Doggone it. No matter what anyone says, I think I'm special too. So don't forget about me, old Paul Per Beard guy. Mrs. Fox says, join the Elvis Unity, AJ, cash in on it. Trucker John, I don't even know if he knows if there is an Elvis Union or not. Not sure. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Chris Doug says trucker Elvis cabbie behind the wheel. Yeah, I could see Trucker John maybe getting some big lamb chop sideburns, jet black, getting some big bedazzled sunglasses, and wearing one of those like jumpsuits. I could see it. And he's in the cab. Okay, picture this. Trucker John's in the cab. Someone gets in, and he's got the thing, the costume, right? And he turns around, and he goes something like, "Where are you going? What? So where are you going?" Something like that, you know. It'd be like he could go like you going to Heartbreak Hotel? Yeah, I'll take you down to Heartbreak Hotel. He could do something like that. I could see that. Yeah, that'd be funny. Might get some tips for that. I don't know. Maybe, but anyhow, see you guys later. I gotta go. All right, Paul Billiger, thank you for the ideas and suggestions, and the people in the chat. Thanks for the suggestion there. Mutton chops or white leather cape. Those are not mutton chops. Those are lamb chops. No, those are they're not called mutton chops. The big sideburns, I think they're called lamb chops. I know muttons, but in America we don't call lamb's mutton. That's a English thing, or something like that. Nick Rich, a script would be cool. A script. What kind of script? A script for what? Driving with the Elvis costume on, or something like that. I used to do a better Elvis. My Elvis isn't that good anymore. I used to do a pretty good Elvis. And then after a while, you get a little rusty. I don't know. My voice changed or something. But I used to do my Elvis is not nearly as good as what it used to be. You're like, oh, thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much. I don't know. James Ramiro, if you're looking to travel, you came to the right place. A pink Cadillac. Okay, dudes, I'm gonna be in a RAV4, okay? I can't even afford a car, let alone a pink Cadillac right now. Drawsees, I want you to see an interview with Scrapes. Why? Why would you want that? It's not that. I don't think he's that interesting of a person. I've seen him. I've talked to him. Side facial hair beard. Yeah, those are lamb chops, not mutton chops. Unless you're in England. If you're in England, they're mutton chops. Anyhow, all right, guys, we're just about done here. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you guys for everything, for hanging out. The likes, subscribes, and the shares. We were over 5 on the thing today, the goal. But sometimes, sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. I know they're sideburns, but they're the really big, sideburns that come all the way down. Those are lamb chops. Anyway, why are we arguing? Why are we arguing about this? Did Chris, after I win Powerball, you will have a Cadillac? Preferably a pink one, preferably something either in the 60s or up to early 70s, I guess. Or maybe 50s. I guess anything from mid to late 50s up to the early 70s. And that's a lot of different body styles. But I guess it would have to be pink and I guess a convertible. If you did that for me, I could probably quit, or at least not quit, but I could still do cab driving. But then I could do the because I think there is a guy actually who's already doing this in a pink Cadillac. It looks like a early 60s pink Cadillac convertible. And I think he does do some type of a ride service. But I think it might be for a chapel, maybe. I don't know. But I've seen people who look like they're not coming from a wedding. I've only seen it a couple times. Maybe he only does it on certain holidays. But I think I've seen this guy. And he does dress up like, he dresses up like Elvis. I think he takes him down, or at least one of the things he does. I think I've seen him take him down to the Hollywood. I mean, not the Hollywood sign, the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. So there is a guy that is doing something like that, and I guess I would be horning in on that, but not that he owns the Elvis thing. Like you say, there's practically a Elvis union. I don't know if there is an Elvis union, but there is a ton of Elvis impersonators all around Vegas that do things. But yeah, if I had the pink Cadillac and I put on the fat Elvis suit, I don't necessarily look like Elvis, but if you get the lamb chops and the bedazzled glasses and a wig, a big Elvis black hair wig, and you're wearing the jumpsuit, and you're going like, "Oh, thank you very much. Oh, thank you. Love me, tender." And you're doing stuff like that, then you could probably, maybe could pull it off. I don't know. Horn in. Yeah, you know what horn in means. We're gonna horn in on something. You shoehorn in. Mr. Spock, you could be drunk Elvis. I could be sober Elvis too. I don't know. James Jaramillo, I love you for your pink Cadillac. Fin tail lights. Yeah, something with the big fin. Yeah, like 61, 62, 63. Or even, yeah, I guess late 50s. I think from late 50s to early 60s, they had the big fins on there, probably. Yeah. I remember we had I think it was a 60 or a 62 Cadillac. My dad bought it. It was a beautiful car. That he bought this. So it was used, but it was probably, when did we have that? It might have been 10 years old. It might have been early 70s or late 60s. I think it might have been late 60s. I don't know. Because I was kind of young. I don't think I was 10 years old yet. I think I was still like 8 or 9. And we had that car. My dad bought it. And it was a beautiful Cadillac. It was brown. It had the big fins and everything. And these cars, these big old Cadillacs, they were just like cruisers, man. I mean, you could just go forever. I mean, just smooth ride, so roomy and spacious. I mean, I was a little kid, so it seemed so roomy and spacious. And they're big; they were roomy. And I remember, though, we were up in Fresno visiting my mom's side of the family. That's where my mom was from. We were visiting my grandma's house. I remember there was a Motel 6 kind of like right behind where my grandma lived. And we got a room there at Motel 6. Because sometimes I remember there were times, when we would just stay at grandma's house. But for some reason this time we just got a motel, I guess just because it was easier and maybe there was no rooms, whatever. I don't know, at grandma's house. So I remember we were at Motel 6, which is right, it was right, to get to it, it was just right around the corner on the street. And so me and my dad were at the motel, and my mom had gone over to grandma's in the Cadillac. And I guess my mom was backing out of the driveway, and then some dude came around the corner, I guess really fast, and didn't stop, didn't look, didn't do anything, and just plowed into the back of that Cadillac, into that back rear right of the car. And I guess we got a phone call to the room. I think my dad was taking a shower, and I remember being in the bedroom part, and I think I was playing with G.I. Joe, or I was playing with my little Army men or something. I was playing. I think I had these cool little cars. They weren't Hot Wheels, but these little plastic cars. I remember playing, and then I think we got a phone call to the room, which was kind of rare, in those days, especially no cell phones or anything. And I just remember hearing my dad like, "Oh, is everyone all right? Is she okay?" And everything. "Okay, we'll be right there." Boom! My dad hangs up the phone. He gets dressed. He's like, "Come on, we got to go to grandma's." And then I'm like, "Okay." So I think I put my shoes on. My dad gets dressed. Boom! And I think he just grabbed me or picked me up because I was pretty young, or maybe I was just holding my hand or something. And we just ran over to the house. It was really close. Like I said, it was right around the block, right around the corner. And when we get up and we can see the car, we can see Mom's car, the Cadillac, and the back fender all like just totally bashed in, totally crunched. And the guy that hit her, I think it might have been a hit and run or something. I don't remember now, but because I don't remember that his car being there. I think it was a hit and run. That was the thing about it. And then, and I think cops were pulling up. I think it was all just happening right then. And then I think my mom was still in the car, but she was okay, but she was just really rattled, you know. And I remember my dad running, and we ran to the car, and he gets her, and like, you know, are you okay? You're okay? You know, yeah. And then she's like, he just came out of nowhere. I was backing out, and it was clear, and then all of a sudden he just came out and just bashed into me, and all this stuff. So that's all I kind of remember of it. And my mom was okay. Everyone, I guess the guy who hit her was okay. I think might have been a hit and run. I'm not sure, but I don't remember him. I just remember seeing our car all bashed in on that rear right quarter panel and the fin. I remember the fin. I think the fin was like almost knocked off. It was like totally bent over or something. And so I think, because we lived way down in Southern California in the desert, and I don't remember if we were able to drive the car home or what we did. I don't remember how we got home. Because I don't think the car was drivable. My dad might have went out and bought us another car. He would buy cars all the time. I really don't remember. Gosh, I wish I could remember. See, this is kind of shit. I wish I could remember all the details because I don't remember if we were able to drive that car or not. But it was a big old Cadillac, and because of that, we always felt like that's why Mom was okay. She was completely, you know, unharmed or whatever. But if it had been, you know, later on in the years when we had smaller cars and, you know, we weren't driving big old Cadillacs, we were driving like Honda Prelude. I remember we had a Honda Prelude. If it had happened in that car, then it might have been a whole different story. You know what I mean? So the big old Cadillac, it took a hit there. Land yacht, yeah. Chris Doug, Fresno. Nobody goes to Fresno. Jolie says, I need a nap. I know. That's what I get leaving Christmas until last minute. Been shopping all day. Go take your nap. I'm going to end the show, Jolie. Yeah, get some rest. And we'll see you guys. Nick Rich, a family story is a fine way to end the show. And I'm not even sure if that was at Christmas. But anyhow, guys, thanks so much for being here. So all we have left to do is the words of wisdom. So get your pen and paper out. You might want to write this down because they're very wise, these words of wisdom. Okay, you guys ready for the words of wisdom? And I'll see you guys maybe tonight and for tomorrow for sure. All right, so here we go. Today's words of wisdom are as follows. Okay, so here we go. Number one, this is going to be a list. Number one, the first thing here.
Well, it's time to say goodbye. The show has come to an end. But don't be sad, no, don't you cry. We're all gonna come back and meet again. We'll have some fun times, hopefully nothing too bad. We might talk about war crimes. Might talk about Baghdad. I doubt we'll talk about door chimes. But if we did, I'd be only too glad. So high of Easter, baby. The show is over, but could I ask you maybe couldn't think of anything to rhyme with over. Now my whole rhyming scheme is all screwed up. Oh shit, I should have stuck to truck driving, who I tried to kid. At least when I was out there driving, I could handle a skid. But doing this live stream, baby, has been a real kid. So I hope to see y'all again right here on the Trucker John live stream. We're gonna do it again and again, right here in the Trucker John live stream. Yeah, the Trucker John live stream. We're gonna come back and do it all again. No, this ain't no dream. This is where we win, right here on the Trucker John live stream. No, it's time to say goodbye. The show is coming in. Don't be sad, no, don't you cry. We're all gonna come back and meet again.
Rolling down the highway in my rusty old rig. I'm a retired trucker, but my spirit's still big. Living in Vegas, where the lights never sleep. Broadcasting my thoughts for the world to keep. From politics to pop culture, I've got it all. Sharing my views, no matter how big or small. Talking about food, the movies and bugs. Shining a light on all the social issues. No shows, I've driven through the desert, seen the city so bright. But now I'm living in a different kind of fight. From my apartment in Las Vegas, I hold the key, exploring the world through my live stream for free. In my apartment in Las Vegas, I hold the key, exploring the world through my live stream for free. So you wanna take a trip down Paradise Road, but it ain't that pretty, it ain't paved with gold. Everybody's got the dirty little secrets, everybody's got some things unknown. But if you ain't real careful, baby, it'll cut you down to the bone. Under all those bright lights, you've gotta learn to ignore the glitter. It's all about fight or flight, and you don't wanna do either. So go on down to Paradise Road, it'll make you wish that you were young. But all it'll do is make you feel old and regret trading in your love for us. It's all just a big charade, it's all just one big game, and it ain't about love, it's all about the thrills. About staying in the hunt, it's about going in for the kill. So hey, people that nobody knows. So go ahead and make your big show. So live it up on Paradise Road. Just don't let anyone know. It'll be your dirty little secret. It'll be your guilty little pleasure. Living a secret that the whole world sees, hiding in plain sight among the scum and the thieves. So damn hard to ever be pleased. Everyone wants to live the good life. Everybody wants a piece of paradise. But where would you run? Where would you hide? What would you do to buy a little more time? Grandiose dreams of happily ever after are really just another day's end. And when the sun goes down, you just lay there wondering, can you really do it all again? You're praying for one last shot. You're hoping for one last big win. Paradise Road is calling, so you better hurry along. Paradise Road is calling, so you better hurry along.
Show's over. I'm out of here, folks. Bye.